I'm sure would be very important to the people of Tipperary. Kilcorn Lodge Hotel, for example. The department has now confirmed those rumours that the hotel has been offered as an IPAS accommodation. What's the latest on that? What can you tell us?
And negotiations were imminent. I'm meeting the team, the community engagement team today at midday in Tipperary, and I mean this is shocking because I had great hope when Roger Gorman was relinquished of that job that and Jim O'Callaghan got it, that he would change, and he did make a change last week. We saw 32 or 33 individuals reported, and about time. But the sad part about it is here we are a couple of months after the election, and that hasn't transferred yet to Jim to the Minister for Justice, Jim O'Callaghan.
Yes.
And I'm chasing Norma Foley. He's landing in her lap because she has that Department of Children now, and she doesn't want it, like a hot potato, and. So it's in the no man's land. They're still under officialdom, really. And when I raised this in the Dáil to stop Dundrum happening there 3 weeks ago, the Tánaiste answered me in the affirmative and said this shouldn't be happening. Relocating Ukrainian children and others in the middle of school, tell them, put a pause in it. All hell broke loose at the interdepartmental level. It's still battling at interdepartmental level, and I was told on Friday then that it is going to happen in Dundrum in the next 2 weeks. That maybe before Jim O'Callaghan will have it at all. I'm not saying Jim O'Callaghan will wave a magic wand, but this whole situation has to change because it's been done by greedy business people. Not for humanitarian reasons, not at all, but with basic staff, I get the most money out of it, and it's a scandal of it. It may be a new, I'm understanding Dundrum that is negotiating a contract with a new provider.
Yes.
We are told that it could be the chap, Mr. Banty's known as Monahan. He has got nearly 20 million off of this thing. He's towns like Castleblaney, I know well, Carrick Macross, and they're around Clonus. And
we don't know that for sure yet. I see Heritage is involved now because they have concerns about the state of the hotel.
Well, they should have, because they were warned about it. We sat down with the public engagement team, Andre Crow and a number of others, several months ago now, and pointed out all the damage to the heritage, the heritage building, and that's very important, and we love it. But look, I mean, the whole heritage thing is grand, and they can hold you up. I mean, we got new owners in our crafting. Sorry for digressing, and delighted to save the hotel from repair the roof, and now he's held up with planning have come down like a ton of bricks. We were delighted to welcome him to try and repair the roof, which he did. Stop the water going in that beautiful building, the library and all. And then the council gets very active when someone does something. But it was left languishing there. And I and Garrett Ahern and others raising in the Dáil and Senate, asking Malcolm Noonan for money. We didn't get it to do anything with it. And when we stabilised the building then, secured it, now there's a complete stalemate with the planners.
A couple of weeks ago we heard from a businessman in Tipperary town, Mattie, that he wants to transfer a building into apartments that are much needed now, and because the windows are listed, he can't do
I heard him, and I know Jerome has spoken to him in the past. Look, a good businessman, he's prepared to do it. So many more people like that. Look at the centre of Clonmel, and the same story. So they get very busy when you go do something, but yet they're allowed to let these buildings languish and come into decay. So, but getting back to Dundrum, I think it's very, very sad. The contract was there for Ukrainians. They looked after them very well. They were integrated. They were working. They taught language. Great relationship built up. And now they've been moved out, I'm told, by the immigration department, or by the liaison officer, if not this week, next week, and then it'll be the Ukrainians, and then we'll be having our IPAS people coming in. So, in spite of...
But are there not IPAS people there already?
Not that I... No, some came, sorry. Some came that time, but that was all, rushed. One lady was actually on the points of having a baby, and she had to be sent back with great persuasion. And the people at the gates and the people from Drum looked after her, and rightly so, and made sure she was in back.
And to get back to where Kilcorn is concerned, they're saying, the department is saying that they will be making contact with elected representatives. So that means yourself, Penny. Have they done so about Kilcorn?
No, they haven't. I've been talking to them on my initiative, and I've got that information. In actual fact, was when I was on about Dundrum last week now, or 8 days ago now, that they said, by the way, as a by and by, that the contract in Kilcorn was imminent. And I still haven't found out who with. The staff out there in management, who I empathise and sympathise with, doing a good job there. And I spoke to the manager last week. They're adamant that it's not happening. But somebody, it's in receivership, as you know. And I pointed out to the manager, that normally receivers are out to make the best money. That's all they see is what can be salvaged out of this situation. It's a pity. Some say the previous owner has it back again. He's told people he has it back again. I don't know, but he has farm here in Dundrum, Roscrea, and
we'll see what happens where that is concerned. But in the meantime, you can't tell us.
Yeah,
but
it's little point. It's little point in contacting public representatives, and indeed after the fact when its contract is signed. This is the farce of it. That's why I hope that Jim O'Callaghan and this administration, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt and did vote for the Taoiseach, and will be and have had several discussions with Jim O'Callaghan on it, and I will certainly hope that it will change, and the deportation, if it's anything to go by, it has to change. It's a lunatic situation, and people that are not even that are not even as I said supposed to be here and have gone through the process and still here, and we're housing and paying for it. Look at Tom and Arms at the Hands Hotel. The story there makes the hair stand in the back of your back.
Can I ask you about Sean Meehan, because Sean is back in court on Thursday, I think, isn't he? After all the recent trials and tribulations as well. What's the story there?
Can I say to Sean and his daughter and his friends, Sean has such stamina and such strength and resilience, but now he's quite unwell. He's a chest infection and he's traumatised. I mean, there was I'm very closely working with Sean and Councillor Niall Dennehy and my daughter, Councillor Mattie McGrath, and they're looking at a different option this morning as regards the County Council. I'll be joining them after I leave here. And we have to make every effort. The courts, obviously, Sean never refused to go to court, ever. He never did anything wrong. Well, the council plannings would say he did. But we had tried, and Maureen had tried really hard with the planners to get that case of a need. He has a housing need. So there was an amicable separation. They sold the house. But because it wasn't all done with legals, and then we got his solicitor to sign an affidavit saying that house was all above board, where the money went. He bought his bit of land, he built his cabin on it, and the rest is, we know all about it. Sean was instructed by his solicitor the evening before the court last week in Cashel that he didn't have to attend because a judicial review has been lodged on behalf of Sean, which is going to cost Sean anywhere between 5,000 and 20,000. That's only just to assess was everything done right with the process of both Penala and indeed with the council. Maybe there's a ditch there, but the solicitor obviously expected that the judge might adjourn that to allow the judicial review. But I didn't know at the time, I know now, that if you're on a court list, doesn't matter if your barrister tells you or your solicitor tells you, this is important for anybody listening.
Yes.
If you're on a list for court, you have to turn up. Don't mind what your solicitor tells you.
Yes, once it's on the list.
Yes, I didn't know that day. I thought if the legal person told you that you were hunky-dory, you didn't have to go. Sean was in Cashel that morning, he was gone home. So look, everything had changed. The judge obviously took a dim view of it, and I can't blame him for that. He was listed to be in court. Sean has always been there, was going to be there that day, and now he presented him to court last Thursday in Clonmel, and different justice, and he's out on bail, and thank God he's not that warrant for his arrest is not hanging over him at the moment. He's on bail, and that bail won't have to be paid unless he fails to turn up, and Sean will turn up. So we're hoping that the judge will see fit to allow the judicial review takes his course. We're hoping that as a result of the meeting this morning with Councillor Dennehy and Councillor McGrath and other councils later on will sign a Section 140, which we haven't had one of them in Tipperary since I think I was involved in one in 1990 with the Care Bypass. To direct the management to cease, or to at least we haven't the wording of it yet, to at least postpone any more legal proceedings until such time as this new supposed rule that Minister Cummins is supposed to be bringing in, to have some common sense here, which I've been looking for 8 years to have a moratorium.
To be devil's advocate on it, because we all have empathy and sympathy for Sean's plight, but the danger is that they'll set precedent then that anybody will feel that on their own property they can erect.
No, look, they have to set a precedent.
That is their fear.
Yes, well, it isn't, because there's a housing crisis, enormous housing crisis. We have endless money to provide 82, and I've visited those as well. We'll talk about another day up on the Haber Road, along with
the modular house.
Yes, and that's state of the art. I wouldn't mind one of myself. And I was guaranteed they were only going to be 200,000. Now they're 436,000. I could see when I saw the site up there how the extra money and a dump that they discovered had an enormous cost had to be removed out of there, an illegal dump I might add. And then out the road 6 miles, Sean, because he housed himself for one of these. So what about the Irish? What's wrong with our Irish people? So we have to look at this fairly. And if they're bringing in this changing, it's not a legislation changing regulations to allow this behind the yard or behind the house, that wouldn't qualify, Sean. But there's hundreds of those in Tipperary. One company, I saw one in County Waterford, I went to business around Christmas, and the company built 98 of them last year. Only 2 of them had planning permission all over the country. So it is an option that people are housing themselves. They're not going to the council. I'm appalled this morning to see revenue jumping in so fast to say there'll be second property tax.
Yeah, just to inform people about that. So this new notion then that possibly you'll be allowed to build a detached place on your property, but now, as you say, revenue saying the property tax
just imagine.
Could be applied.
Just imagine. And people that want to house themselves and don't look for a house, don't. I mean, if you're in a local authority house, you don't pay any property tax. So I mean, it is shocking that people with initiative are being hammered all the time here, and we can have money for everybody to house them, but we can't house our own. I don't seem to have the interest. I have been asked that day in the Raber Road. These have been dropped in, and there's bolts on the roof to remove them again by crane. And I said, well, I'm told that the Ukrainians are going back, and they are. Net decrease all the time, and what's going to happen to them? Well, can they be given to the Clonmel homeless and Tipperary people? And they were told, but look, as far as they're concerned in the Department of Integration, planning will have to be sought. First of all, a decision will have to be made what to do with them. They can take them away to someplace else again after all the expense and site works, everything else. And then secondly, there'll have to be planning got if we want to put the paddies into them. Just a matter, why are we discriminating against our own people? It's just fundamentally goes against my inner beliefs and my whatever I stand for.
But this is coming from a government that you're now supporting.
Yes, and I want to see change. That I fought tooth and nail with, and I want to see change. And if I don't see change, I'll be lobbying plenty, and I have been lobbying ministers already, and I will be voting against them, and that's all I can do. I would ideally hope and thought that government would be got rid of in the last election, but 50% of the people didn't vote at all, and the people that didn't say, look, we're happy with this. But then it's back to the opposition, Sinn Féin, that supported the government for the last 5 years. They weren't in opposition. They were Oslar, MIA as I called it. They weren't there. On immigration, on COVID, and no matter what the government proposed, they wanted more. On the referendums, as horrendous as they were. What did Mary Lou say? She'd run him again when the result went wrong.
She took that back, of course.
She took it back, but that's what her intention was. So that's why they suffered at the polls, and that's why they're in opposition. And now they want to be a reckless opposition, no proper policies. To listen to Matt Carty last week in the Dawn, and someone said I was smiling. I was smiling. The hypocrisy was when you talk of Maria Cal and the bullying and intimidation they gave to her. Talk to many other women that were bullied and intimidated, including Karen Nolan, my own colleague. To think of Jean McConville families, as I said before, and the dead and people, and they know what people in that association know because we saw the funeral last week again. I've been at IRA funerals in the past, IRA people funerals. I make no apologies for that, but to see now the show that they're there at that, so that they're the people that are both in opposition and in something else as well.
Well, Micheál Martin rebutted Pierce Doherty with that very, very
but
point.
But it's facts, it's there, it's obvious. Who are they cutting? I mean, in fact, then they're not going to America. I think it's reprehensible, laughable. In the K Dulces, I say, near Forshey, in Quirra, when they got invites. Easy to say we won't go. You can't go to a wedding unless you're invited, Fran, so maybe they weren't invited. I've met Mary Lou in the past in Washington at the different events, and I think it's never more important than it is now for us to give a leg into.
So you believe Micheál Martin is doing the right thing? God knows he's going to have a scary time there.
And maybe he deserves it, because what Simon Harris, who is the Taoiseach, called President Trump, horrible terminology. It's not language I would use, and I use some strange language at the time. Horrible. And then he had a cap one morning sitting on his desk, and I asked him when I met him last week, was that your Camilla's cap facing? And he said, look what I got in the post this morning. Camilla Harris, whatever cap, what you call him, game cap,
her
or whatever.
Supporters cap, yeah.
Yeah, and like we needed to be fiercely independent there. We have massive diaspora out there. I'm engaging with many of them.
What do you make of the guarantee now of hundreds of millions going to Ukraine?
I'm totally aghast by it. 50 million last week, and they could add another 50 this week. When we have those children that I mentioned this morning waiting for eye treatment.
So you don't agree with that funding of it, even though it's supposed to be non-lethal?
I've been
non-lethal.
what's non-lethal, Fran? I mean, it was non-lethal. You don't give the bullets, but you give the airplanes.
Well, I don't know. Did they get receipts for it? Or
yeah, listen, look. I mean, I've been totally one of the only people that all the time questioned what was going on in Ukraine. And I mean, listen, if it takes President Trump to shake him up and we do get peace, I see this morning now that the British Prime Minister and the French Prime Minister, I think, are looking for a month's ceasefire or something. Isn't it wonderful? President Michael D. Higgins' wife came out, Ben Kayla, Kublino Hina, she said, we need to talk peace here. And look at the peace process. We need to talk peace. And Matt Mansor and Father Alec Reid and many others, Bertie Hearn, and so hard for that. Albert Williams, I'm making the point that every conflict ends with peace negotiations. So now they're all jumping to the peace ceasefire, and they're being forced into it. And it's necessary to have it, because we can't have the slaughter continue, and we can't have the amount of funding going into it and the wasted funding on munitions and bombs and bullets. So it's a serious situation.
All right, Mattie, good to see you today.